The catastrophe will affect the economy and the entire food processing industry and will result in a famine the likes of which the world has never seen nor experienced over the past thousands of years. This will signify the beginning of the end for conventional space travel. For barely 1 decade later, time travel, through the advancement of technology, will become routine. Millions of light years will be bridged, that is, traversed, without any time loss, and human beings will no longer experience limitations in their conquest of distances. This also is the time when geriatric research, through genetic reverse manipulation, will release the human population from the premature aging's curse, a curse that was brought about, long ago, in the initial fighting people's genes by the gene manipulators, the creator overlords. This reverse manipulation will afford man an even longer lifespan than that achieved by terrestrial geneticists through prior procedures, whereby human lives increased to an average life expectancy of 400 years. These new achievements will produce an extremely long human life expectancy of thousands of years. In the ensuing few years, the time will come when intelligent ocean dwellers will begin to contact human beings and communicate with them, and a new race of terrestrial inhabitants will thereby be founded. Then the time will come when aggressions with Martian inhabitants will begin and result in the actual launching of attacks on the colonies. These events will be followed by 15 years of relative calm, finally bringing good fortune to the Earth's human inhabitants in their quest to find their actual origins. A terrestrial space expedition will penetrate into the regions of Sirius and discover, or rather locate there, proof of the your ancestry of the human beings on Earth, who previously were procreated through genetic manipulations in ancient times by the Sirius, creator overlords. This discovery will reveal that over many millennia, the terrestrials' ancestors fled across long twisting paths, found the Sol system and began settling there. Thus, humankind on Earth will eventually find its direction back to its origin, which, of course, will not suddenly resolve mankind's problems by any means. Of course, linked to this discovery will also be contacts with very distant ancestors of the previous creator overlords, as well as other intelligences from Sirius that will, by then, no longer lead to the pursuit and slaughter of the genetically manipulated descendants, the terrestrials. The contacts will lead to a collaboration instead, resulting in the previous genetic manipulation's definitive reversal. This action, in turn, will result in the birth of new descendants who will be normal and no longer be degenerate. The circle finally closes and man will become a true human being in equilibrium with the negative and positive. The reversal of this previous degeneration gene manipulation, along with the continually climbing overpopulation, precipitated even more so by the extraordinary human longevity, will result in plans for the eradication of those humans in whom the genetic reverse manipulation had not yet been performed, on Earth as well as on all other worlds colonialized by terrestrials, and space stations inhabited by them. This eradication will transpire in the same manner previously proclaimed and demanded by responsible individuals a very long ago, a worldwide halt in the birth rate over a 7-year cycle. Within this framework, only parents whose degeneration was previously eradicated through genetic reverse manipulation will be permitted to procreate. Only those individuals, therefore, will be legally entitled to sire any offspring. Illegal pregnancies will be assessed as the most abhorrent crime, punishable by death to the guilty parties. This concept will only come about as an inescapable law 5 years before the period when complete authority over planet Earth is placed into the hands of the administrative sphere within the Sirius Alliance, and enforced therefrom. Nonetheless, in these distant days ahead, Earth scientists will be ambitious. They will fulfill new objectives, make new discoveries, and capture chemistry's last remaining secrets. Despite the incredible knowledge that extraterrestrial intelligences will have passed on to the terrestrials, by far not every mystery about everything will have been penetrated or unraveled. Therefore, research will continue into all facets including that of astronomy, and scientists will subsequently penetrate to the center of the Milky Way to investigate its secrets and those of the black hole. The Sun's activity will increasingly cause more concern, as it becomes notably weaker and unable to provide sufficient energy to supply Earth and Mars with light and warmth. In these distant, future times artificial suns will routinely orbit the Earth at a considerable distance so as to brighten and heat its surface. This situation will not remain benign either, as one can deduce from an event that will occur 70 years after capital punishment for illicit procreation becomes law, when two of these artificial suns will destructively collide with one another, inflicting severe damage. These, then, are the overall predictions for a succession of future centuries, whereby the sequence of these enumerations has become somewhat intermixed, and only the most significant future events are mentioned here. In addition to these events, many other things will transpire concurrently, for example, over political, military, religious, scientific, evolutionary and cosmic nature. The prediction that the terrestrial social formats of states still prevalent in 1995 will be abolished and replaced with new programs, whereby the individual no longer must personally make provisions for his or her old age through his personal finances, because society, or rather the federal state, will pay for it. A very inexpensive energy source will increase food supply production to the point where food can be distributed without charge. More of this incredibly inexpensive energy will be generated than man on Earth can utilize. The cost of living will therefore drop to nearly zero. Pension plans, for example, along with other financial support systems, will become redundant, if for no other reason than the fact that virtually no income will be required any longer for a person's livelihood. At this point, money will completely lose its value for these very same purposes, except for the fulfillment of personal pleasures, that is, for recreational and pastime activities, etc. Nevertheless, such actions will not produce solutions to every monetary problem to the point where money will be totally eliminated as legal tender once and for all. People from Earth will continue to be caught up with their thoughts of using money in the near and more distant future, and many hundreds of years will be marked by its use, although 2 attempts to completely eliminate money will be initiated. These endeavors are doomed, however, because man simply does not wish to detach himself in the near future from money and wealth. For this reason, all related efforts will be undermined because gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and other valuable, still undiscovered metals, precious stones, jewelry and other items sold illicitly, which will ultimately lead to the collapse of the attempts to abolish money. Money may eventually be prohibited by law in the distant future. Such a development is just as predestined to occur as the one in the near future when the breeding of animals will be abolished. Geneticists will eventually discover a method that enables plants to produce the animal protein required by human beings. Scientists will finally realize that this process is actually feasible through genetic manipulation. This realization is to be expected very soon, although its enactment will not occur until much later. Blame for this delay can be placed on the anti-genetic manipulation gripers who, insanely and incomprehensibly, are against gene technology and gene manipulation. Anti-gripers' efforts must be blamed, therefore, for the burden upon life for long-time mass breeding, mass transports and mass tortures of billions of animals. The solutions brought about by vegetable animal protein production and perfectly acceptable meat substitute could have been effected long before through gene technology to be marketed as food supplies, were it not for the decades of insane anti-griping efforts that impede these actions. The blame for the suffering of many billions of animals must be directed toward these idiotic gripers until they are ultimately forced into silence and kept quiet. Only then will the ills of mass animal breeding and all other related tortures for animals find an end. The predictions also failed to mention that scientists will soon realize that Earth's atmosphere is truly not conducive to prolonging human longevity. Although mention is made in the predictions of the genetically manipulated descendants' adaptation to the Earth's atmosphere, no information is given about scientists discovering the Earth's atmosphere being unsuitable for human beings and the fact that it contributes greatly to their rapid aging process. Furthermore, no mention is made about scientific discoveries which will, supposedly, lead to the imminent production of air that is more healthful and beneficial to the human body than before. This air will be a different yet more suitable composition and will be available for purchase both in bottles for personal consumption and as little life extenders. Currently the oxygen-nitrogen proportion of terrestrial air is not only unsuitable, but its oxygen content is much too low and it also contains a variety of dangerous gases inhaled by humans. Regarding the Earth itself, a fact not mentioned in the predictions is that, all along, the scientists were unaware that this planet was not expanding over the millennia through the accumulation of falling stardust and meteors, etc., but that, imperceptibly, it has been expanding internally. This means that an imperceptible expansion process is ongoing for millennia whereby, slowly but surely, the Earth's internal riches are transported to the surface. Over time, this expansion process will accelerate in correlation with the Sun's decreasing nuclear fusion rate through which all gravity fields within this entire solar system will change, in particular those of all the planets. In the predictions made so far, mention was made about the terrestrials' discovery of time travel and how to break into future and past dimensions. However, no mention was made about the discovery and locations of other dimensions, and the revelation of untold opportunities for man. Yet, once again, many dangers will be linked to their discoveries. Some will be of a physical nature, while others will be the result of encounters with intelligences from other dimensions. To this end, renewed conflicts will erupt and many events will become a reality that previously were slighted as science fiction fantasies. Many more power struggles and revolts will take place on Earth even at times when governments no longer reside on this planet, but will orbit in space stations surrounding it. These governments will not find a safe haven there for long, as some predictions mention that the rulers will be overthrown up there. Through faults and machinations of scientists, an evil time will follow once again, whereupon man will utilize the services of an animal that harbors much negativity, viciousness and degeneration. This condition will be revealed to man and be provoked by the scientist's service agreement. Consequently, the animal or animals will begin to attack people to a point where they will actually hunt terrestrials, and masses of humans will be slaughtered. The prediction, unfortunately, does not divulge any information on whether the animal will be introduced to Earth from the vastness of the universe, or whether it will originate on the Earth itself. In any case, human beings throughout the world will be forced to defend themselves against these animals. But the human population's efforts will be futile, and for this reason everyone on Earth will have little choice than to flee to the one continent which will be forged into a gigantic fortress. 300 years later, scientists will once again create a horrendous calamity, for their conceit and arrogance will push them to the point where they see themselves as God, and in their megalomania they will perceive themselves as equals to creation and as being irreplaceable in every way. Afterward, nearly 100 years later, a very vicious and aggressive act takes place on man's neighbor planet, Mars, when numerous spaceships will attack and completely annihilate the planet until even its substance is eliminated. During this period, the destroyer planet will once again create havoc. This ancient roaming celestial body will enter the inner solar system on a collision course with Earth as a result of the Sun's rapidly dwindling nuclear activity and the subsequent total alteration of the gravity fields within the entire solar system. The destroyer previously caused repeated destruction in the old Lyra regions over millions of years. Only sparsely populated by that time, the Earth will be faced with the threat of complete annihilation resulting from this destructive wanderer, and terrestrials will be incapable of safeguarding themselves against it. Because of the suddenly depleted gravity fields, now completely out of control throughout the entire solar system, the terrestrials are unable to direct the destroyer into another orbit or annihilating the destroyer. Neither alternative will benefit the Earth, for by this time it will be uninhabitable because of the monumental solaric changes.